Casual Magic has been sponsored by Quiver, maker of the Quiver and Bolt deck cases and other fine deck holding accessories. Use the code CASUAL on their website for 10% off your order. This episode is also brought to you by Monopool, a fast-growing marketplace for Magic the Gathering that makes buying and selling cards easy. Their optimizer helps you get the best value when buying cards, and their team is focused on making it a great experience for buyers and sellers alike. You can also support Casual Magic directly by going to our Patreon at patreon.com/ShivanB. And now, on with the show. Welcome to Casual Magic, the show where we talk about the fun side of Magic the Gathering. My name is Shivam, and Casual Magic is brought to you by Quiver and Monopool and my patron to patreon.com/ShivanB. I am grateful to all of you. Thank you so much for your continued support over these past 6-ish years. Today, I'm joined by a longtime friend of mine, I don't know, from Twitter and forever ago, Millie Wales, who is a senior games producer up in at a company in Canada, and is also my friend from Australia, of all places. And we ran into each other in person, in passing, at GDC in San Francisco, which is like the most game designer nerd thing you could do, which is just like also great. But yeah, dude, it's so good to see you, because you know, it's funny, like when we first started hanging out and talking and whatever on Twitter from the early days of Magic Twitter, like you were still looking for a job in the games industry and we're just kind of floating around your resume. And I was like a longtime veteran of this industry. So we like, you know, hung out and talked. And it's so rad to see you have built yourself an entire career and moved to Canada and become like a senior level somebody, which is awesome. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on. It's so nice to talk to you on your podcast. I love it here. And yeah, we've been friends for ages, and it feels like it has been a lifetime since we met in that park back at that GDC.
Right? It's crazy. I mean, GDC, for those of you guys who don't know, GDC is the Game Developers Conference, which is basically the least games convention there is. It's more like a trade show for games. So it's like going to a plumber's convention or something, right? Like you go in and you sit in a talk and there's like people are like, let me tell you about the sound design pipeline, and you're like, what the hell are you talking about? It's like, well, the vector for sound wave graphics and it's like when you're in the games, it is the most nuts and bolts under the engine games crap. And it's also like my favorite place to go because it's where all the games industry shows up and lets their hair down and gets to be normal people and just sit and like drink with Kojima or yell at Kojima while drinking, and like, it's just like, I haven't been in the game industry for a while now. However, I still go every year because it's in my neighborhood, and I like to go sit in the park across the street from the con and just meet all of my dear friends in the industry. Because like that's a one time, like, you know, people show up from England or from India or from Japan or whatever, and we can all hang out and talk about nerd stuff for like hours, which is like is that the last GDC you went to in like 2000 and
no,
pre-pandemic?
Pre-pandemic. 16? That was 2019, believe it or not.
Oh, crikey.
I know. No, I actually went last year as well. So I've only been twice. So kind of like, as you said, like when we met up at the park at GDC 2019, I just moved over to North America. I was unemployed. I just left the oil industry. I was like, I don't want to be a mechanical engineer anymore. I don't want to work in oil. I want to make games. I want to make the world at least a more fun place. And I'm going to try and make my break in America.
You're saying that working on an oil derrick is not going to make the world a more fun place?
Yeah, there's certain, that whole like, are we the bad guys? I definitely had that moment, and not to say that like, if you work in oil, you're a bad guy. We've all got to make ends meet, but rather like sometimes when you're given an opportunity to make a switch in like what direction your life is going, I sort of had that opportunity come up, and I looked around and I went, I love video games and I want to try and do it. And my parents gave me their blessing to be like, yeah, go on out there and just see if you can do it. I think they thought I would just kind of try for a while and then come back to Australia.
Right?
Had it work out, but I stuck around a bit longer than they expected because I got a job and now I'm still here. I'm a Canadian citizen now.
Whoa, that's making a full-on commitment. That's like, that's hardcore, right? Like when you're like, okay, well, I have now moved here and I'm just staying here. And that's just like, it's like one of my friends in Japan, like, a bunch of our folks from the games industry would, because everybody who works in the games industry is some tier of weeb. And so some of my friends would be like, we're going to move to Tokyo and I'm going to start a translation company. And like 25 years later, they're Japanese now and they have a kid and they live and their primary language is Japanese. I'm like, bro, you're from Jersey. Like, don't try to, wakanai me. I know where, like, chill. And he's like, yeah, but now my name is like, Toshiro. I'm like, oh, okay, Tom, whatever you want.
Oh yeah, okay. I think a lot of people go like, hey, of course I want to work in the games industries, and I'm not going to lie, like I'm very aware of how lucky I am to have made that break.
Boy,
and funnily enough, like
right now,
yeah, I'm so glad that I ended up looking in 2019 when I was, because
you might want to crank it down a smidgy bit.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that I was looking back in 2019 because my heart goes out to everyone who's trying to make it in games right now. Like it's really tough once you're in the industry, never mind trying to break in. But funnily enough, like I actually do credit part of how I managed to break into the network that I made via Magic the Gathering when I first got over here. It's funnily, so that GDC that we met, I ended up, I was like, my job is to network. If everyone
Actually,
knows, it's who
up a little bit. Sorry, audience. I do tinker with the audio while we're talking. It's easier because we're in conversation. I can actually see the levels. But yeah, so that's why I actually wanted to bring you here, because like, not just to reminisce about old gaming times, but also because I want to talk about the intersection of these two facets of game industry. Because I remember Rosewater came and gave a talk at GDC, and that talk, like he had like a line of like the most famous game devs of all time saying, I've been a Magic player my whole life. I'm so like enamored with you. It's so wonderful to finally meet you, whatever. And he's like, holy crap, I didn't realize the entire industry plays Magic.
I'd say that like if the entire industry wasn't playing Magic before, after Final Fantasy came out, now it is. The amount of game developer events that I went to in the second half of last year where people were like, I was like, oh, so what do you do outside of work? And people were like, well, I just got into Magic the Gathering because did you see that they made a Final Fantasy set? And I love that. And I was just like, literally like clocking them off. I think I stopped counting on my fingers. That was how many it was. And that was just in the Vancouver area. Like,
yeah.
But Magic is huge in games. Okay.
But I had interrupted you. So you were saying in 2019.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And so in 2019, GDC going around networking, somebody, I can't remember. I believe it was actually Lauren Clinic, a game developer, back in Australia. She knew, Eduardo Selgovic. He's a pro player.
Satchclick.
Yes. Sorry for butchering the name there.
I had him on the show and we had a long discussion about it because it's very, very Polish.
Very Polish, yeah. She introduced me to him and was like, hey, I happen to know him. I can't remember how they knew each other, but I was like, oh yeah, of course I know him. He's a Magic pro. We ended up getting brunch at GDC, which is part of why GDC is so brilliant. Just like everyone's in town and like you can just message somebody and be like, hey, I know we've never met, but like I want to work in games. You work in games. We both know Magic. Could I buy you breakfast? And bless his heart, he said yes. And we talked for a while and he was like, oh, you're coming up to Canada. Hey, funnily enough, I need to go and play a pro tour in Japan and I need a cat sitter. Do you want to come and crash at my place in Montreal? You'll look after my cat and you can meet some of the games community in Montreal. And maybe you can try and get some headway and, that way you don't have to pay rent during that time. And I was like, absolutely. I mean, I'd love to talk to you, but like, I will hang out with your most amazing cat Beano, and meet people. And this sort of thing is like, that was the beginning of a pattern of like, I would meet somebody at a games industry event, but Magic would be how we actually sort of connected person to person rather than just as like industry peers. And because then of Magic, they would be like, oh, do you want to come to the game store? Do you want to play a Commander game? I know some other people who also play Magic, who are also in games. And now some of them are super close friends of mine and are actually my main Magic playing community in Vancouver. So plus the Magic judging, like I'm per the old system, a level 2 Magic judge. All that experience was actually really relevant in my job interview for my current job.
Well, I mean, think about it. It's a lot of the same problem-solving issues you need, where you've got like a very obscure and like heavily complex rule system with a lot of dependencies, and your job is to figure out how to unsort it and rebuild. I mean, Magic is basically programming with flavor on top of it.
Absolutely.
Right? So, like, it is just it is math. Like weirdly enough, the episode directly before this, I had the developers of Caves of Cud, which is like one of the most popular indie games.
Legendary game.
Like just for a random roguelike that's been in development for like 20 plus years. But those two dudes met playing Magic when they were like 13 and have been like hardcore Magic nerds and are totally like, this game inspired the hell out of our game. And who knows, there's like infinite trillion games and books out there of people who are just like, yeah, so I tried to make a version of Magic and now I end up creating Dominion, or like Blueprints, right? Like Blueprints, the guy who literally made Blueprints funded his game because he runs MTG spoiler of all the goddamn things to do.
I remember when I first found out about that and I had like the Leo pointing at the screen thing happening.
Yeah, right.
I was like, what? The spoiler website? And now it's one of the biggest puzzle games of all time. Like, incredible.
Right? Like, it's weird because when I started in the games industry, like people had played D&D as kids and maybe played a little 3rd edition in college or whatever, but they weren't really, and Magic was a thing that people had done as kids, but not something that they did now. Like, it was more bigger on board games. Like, we used to get, and like, I used to host meetups, and me and Dan Chu, who used to be the editor-in-chief of EGM, and then became like High Mucky Muck at Blizzard and at so many other places, we would host these big gamer board game parties where all like the people in the game industry would come and have friendiers, and we could just sit and unwind and talk about business without actually being business and while playing all these board games.
So important. Yeah,
dude, having networking days with your buddies is the best, and we're gamers. What else are we gonna do? We're game. But it turns out now everybody just plays Commander.
Yeah, well, the rise of Commander has, I know everyone's got all kinds of feelings on it, but in terms of the ability to just like turn up with a deck and play people, I think it's unmatched at the moment. And I think the more Commander decks you end up building and playing, you actually get like a mini taste of game design and experiential design. Because so much of it, like, sure, there's people that are like, I just want to play to win, or I just want to create like the most wicked engine deck out of this Commander. But so many other people go in being like, oh, actually, I want this deck to feel like this when I play it, or I want my opponents to get this experience when I play it. And whenever I hear about people doing that, I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, you guys are game designing, buddy. I mean, you're using the components that Wizards have made, but you're looking at this as a tool set. And you're creating a game experience for other people to enjoy.
Yes,
probably.
yes. I've been saying this the whole time, which is like, because when people will come to me and be like, oh man, Magic, like Commander uses hybrid wrong or whatever the hell, right? And I'm like, no, you don't understand. What Commander is doing is taking the Legos that were given in the box by Wizard of the Coast and building, like the Lego box might have a biplane on it, and Commander is saying, what if I built a steamship instead? It's using the same pieces to build an entirely different product. It is a different game. Just because, like, you know, your game uses Unreal Engine 4 and is a, you know, third-person shooter running around, and my game uses Unreal Engine 4 and is actually a Tetris clone. They're not the same game. They're just using the same engine, right? Like, I think, and like Dan is really like the place where you really, really see this kind of being highlighted. Like, hey, look, we can take these same pieces and build an entirely fundamentally different game that has nothing to do with anything that you might recognize as Magic. Well, I mean, maybe not that far, but you could definitely do it. Like, people have built weird commander decks that put the game into weird situations. I think my favorite was there was one where a dude built a commander deck that created effectively a dungeon crawl for the other players to play through, because it would be playing traps and it would be playing caves, and it would be playing monsters and all these things. They're all just playing them out as a normal game, but it was like when you see somebody taking Minecraft and programming Doom into Minecraft using like redstone generators.
Absolutely.
And you're like, what are we doing here?
It's brilliant. I love it. Like, I think I've actually hit a point where I don't play Commander quite as much as I used to, but something that I still love doing is reading about other people's Commander decks. Like, I love hearing people sort of like, look, I don't want to hear every single 99 that you've put in there, but I do love it if you can give me the elevator pitch on like, here's my Commander deck, here's the concept, here's a couple of key cards that sell that concept and make it real. And I'm just like, yes, tell me more. Like, I want to see your vision for what you're making here. And then, if we end up playing a game, I'm like, cool, let's play test it. Let's see how it runs out. Like, maybe I'm a little too game developer pilled, but like that's the framework that I see these things in. I mean, can you tell I work in user experience and user research?
Exactly. It's like, yeah, I mean, yes, I can exactly tell that. But there is something to be said about the fact that, like, when somebody has to pitch their deck to you, and it's literally the same, the principle of what you're building is effectively the same as a game designer goes through in creating a game. Is like, I have an experience I want to generate with this deck. The components I'm putting into this deck lean towards that experience. And that's why I tell people a lot whenever, like, I mean, we don't see this anymore because it's worked, but like the whole notion of like rule zero of like pre-game discussion of like building your deck is that if you consciously decide the components you are putting in to generate the experience you want, and then you can explain it to other people, you will have the experience you want. Instead of being like, oh yeah, you know what? I brought this deck that's all about making pies, and it builds a whole bunch of pies, and it's a whole bunch of components of making pies. And I'm sitting down against a bunch of people who are playing like, Time Vault and like infinite turn blocks or whatever. It's like, okay, we had obviously a very different experience in mind. Maybe if we had but I mean, people are like, how do I build a deck that's not going to be the most powerful optimized thing in the world? I'm like, well, if you, in the deck building process, stop yourself from taking like the best tier card and take the third best tier card, like, there was a game designer at Wizards who told me once, and this is like the thing that just stuck with me, which is like, build like a Timmy, play like a Spike, which is to say, like, build your deck as low powered capped as possible and then play it as hard as you can, right? Like, that's why I think my favorite way is still Boxing League, where it's like, all you have is a component of whatever came in this pack of 20.
It's my box of scraps.
Yeah. Here's 36 packs of cards. Whatever deck you can build out of that, happy birthday. And it's like, your power level is never going to get higher than whatever standard power level is. And it's not going to have like Soul Ring or Mana Vault or whatever the hell, right? But you can still grind and go crazy, but because the components you're using are necessarily powered down, the experience is going to still be chill.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting that you bring up Rule Zero in there, because I think that is something that game developers are very well equipped to have. Like, we're used to basically being like, we need to have a discussion about what is the like intended gameplay here. And Rule Zero in many ways has been trying to coach people into like, hey, you can have this discussion too. It's not necessarily like, what's the current system with the bracket system? It's not just about comparing brackets. It's to prompt everybody to come together and be like, are we playing Minecraft today, or are we going to play Hunt Showdown? Because that can be the difference, right? They're all technically first-person games. As a result, like, I think that Magic has shaped a lot of the language that like I use in game development, and then vice versa. And I can always tell, like, I work at a co-development firm, so we don't necessarily like make games that we own ourselves. Like I can't say, oh, here's X game by Sprung Studios. That's the studio I work for. Rather, we then sell our services to other studios. So I get to work with a whole bunch of different clients.
Would you be like Dimps would be for Capcom or something like that? Or like one of the developers who like Capcom designs a game and then these guys go and actually build it and
yeah, I guess we'll be like a component of that rather than like they come to us and say build the whole game. Like the recently closed Blue Point, RIP. But rather like a studio like Full Circle, for example, they make Skate. They might go, hey, we know that we've got a big push on user interface design that we need to do. We don't want to permanently hire a bunch of user designers, user interface designers. We're going to contact Sprung and we're going to get them to come in for like a year and help us out really intensely for a year on that front. And then they'll peel off and we'll just sort of pick it up from there. And so we bounce around from studio to studio doing that for like interfaces, user research. We do UX implementation as well and user research and motion design. But I feel like I can with all my clients, I feel like I can always tell the ones that have played Magic. Often because we're working in games is like you might have an office, but you're constantly working with other people remotely. So you often get the big array of everyone's got their stuff. I mean, I've got all my cosplay stuff behind me. The amount of Kallaxes with the board games and Magic decks you see in the background is huge.
Yes,
you're
seriously.
Like, what is that? Is that a Battle Bond box you've got there? Interesting.
It's like, oh, you kept the box. I see.
Exactly. Yeah. I've seen some folks that'll be like, I'm looking at them like, oh my god, is that original Mirrodin? And they're like, oh yeah, I dabbled back in the day. I was a fan. I've kept this, or you know.
The ones that always get me is like when you're talking to somebody and behind them it's just a very conspicuous framed sheet, like an uncut sheet, and it's like,
absolutely.
Okay, buddy, let's calm down.
I had my my Ravnica uncut sheet up here for a very long time, and had a lot of people being like, "Oh, I see, interesting. Yes, yeah, we speak the same language."
My friend Mark, who works at Minecraft, I got from him an uncut sheet of Kaladesh rares, and I haven't yet framed it and hung behind me, but someday I will.
That is a prize. That is beautiful.
So it's so cool. You know what? It's GDC story. Wizards of the Coast used to put on mixers periodically where they would have people come and let you draft and just play games and hang out and sit and chat and stuff. And I went one year, and that's the year I think I met Mike Turian for the first time. And they had like whoever won got an uncut sheet of Kaladesh because I was a set that year. And I came like third, and I was so mad. Like whoever beat 7 opponents first.
Oh my gosh!
Like, and I was like, that's the only thing. It's like it was my white whale for a very long time, and so now I finally have one, and I'm super stoked.
I'm glad you've been united at last.
Dude, GDC is like the only reason I'm thinking about it is because as of recording, GDC is right around the corner, so it's still fresh on my mind. But it's also just like being able to network with people and being able to network within the industry. And using Magic as like kind of a glue to be able to actually communicate with other developers is a really good way to break the ice.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that's how we broke the ice, right? Like I'd just seen your social media and like a lot of the threads that you would do both on Magic and on culture and history and telling stories, that sort of thing. And I was just
I should do that again.
Yes, please. I miss them. I remember you like tweeted that you're like, I'm going to be hanging out at the park. And I was like, well, I mean, we've never met, but hell, I'll just walk up to you when you were talking to a bunch of people. I was just like, hi. Hey, like, how's it going?
I recognized you immediately. So it was, you know,
Magic.
I will say this, you sounded a lot more Australian than you do now.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's been 6 years of 6.5 years now of like full-time living here, so the accent
is getting very soft. Yeah, like it gets very Canadian and then it goes way back, and I'm like, oh cool. Where did you find Magic?
I found Magic at PAX Australia, the very first one. I can't quite remember what year that was. I think it might have been.
Do you remember the set?
2013. I remember that a couple of months later is when we went to the game store for the first time, and the set was, we walked in for the first Friday Night Magic of Theros. And the store was absolutely popping off. It was so full of people doing the very first draft of Theros. And I remember walking in because me and my partner at the time we decided that we played too many video games and too many things on screens, and we wanted something that we could do on a table, like in real life across from each other. And then we liked it so much from the like learn to play decks that we got at PAX Australia. And we were like, you know what, maybe we should actually make a hobby out of this. Let's go to the game store and see what it's like. And I walked in and it was just pandemonium as everybody was drafting for the first time. I think they had like 4 draft pods that were all launching at like 6 p.m. on a Friday night. And I remember like the staff would run off their feet trying to get people organized. And I walked in and was like, hello, I would like to buy some Magic boosters. And the staff were like, yeah, you and everybody else, get in line. And I was like, oh, is it
like
always
the release
like
of Theros?
Yeah, it was like, the release. It wasn't pre-release, but it was the release. And I was just like, I guess Magic is just always like this. And I found out that starting at Theros Block, I think, was interesting because it was at the beginning of like a really big explosion in the popularity of Standard as a format. Like Standard's always been popular, but from what I could tell, at least in the Melbourne community, it had been like, oh, there's an even split of people like drafting and playing Standard too. We've had to cancel other card game events because we need more table space for the Standard players, particularly going into Khans of Tarkir.
The good old days.
I very much see it as the good old days. I don't know how much of that is just nostalgia speaking, but
but you know what? Standard, that was peak Standard though, man. That was a real good Standard.
You agree with me? That means we're in complete sync.
There's a lot of people who think that era was garbage because like, oh yeah, you could just play 5 color mono bases. You had fetch lands and you had all the things. I'm like, yeah, shut up, dude. You got to play like the sickest Abzan deck. Like the Rhino deck was so good. The Sultai deck was so good. Like I remember seeing I forget what tournament it was, but I think Paulo Vitor Damarosa sat and like used Whip of Erebus to bring back Hornet Queen, and Mark Rosewater is just off screen, just fuming because he hates that card so much. And I'm like, Whip of Erebus on Hornet Queen is so good.
It's so cool. I loved that. That was when I learned to like watch the Pro Tour. And because we were like, we want to get better at the game and I want to like build meta decks and actually compete. And I got into competitive Magic. So like that was really the introduction. And it was amazing. Like it did everything that I wanted it to in terms of like, we made friends that were like from the store, right? Like they weren't just people that we knew online or through university. It was, hey, these are our Magic friends and we'll hang out with them at F&M and we'll play drafts and we'll play Standard. We got into the competitive scene and we started to know all of the grinders that were in our local area. There was a Grand Prix in Melbourne and that blew my mind. I was like, I just can't believe that like this gigantic tournament of hundreds and hundreds of people all playing for their share of one prize.
I was talking to an Australian content creator a few weeks ago and learning about how big Australia is in terms of like, it's like, oh, if there's like a GP in Melbourne, that's like an 11-hour drive for someone from Sydney or whatever. And you have to do it because that's the only event you're going to have for like the whole year.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's a huge thing. It's not, you don't look at it and you go like, oh, well, you know, it's on the other side of the country. So we're not going to go this time because one, they never run anything in Perth. So sorry, Western Australia. And two, like we'll get one major event a year. Back then, I mean, it's changed now, and so as a result, the entire Magic playing community of Australia would make this pilgrimage to whichever host city it was. Most of New Zealand's community and a large chunk of like Southeast
APAC.
Asia would come as well. Yeah. And it was like this massive magic party. And that was when I sort of pivoted into getting into the judge community, because I realized that I wasn't going to commit enough time to get actually good at Magic, but I loved being involved in the tournaments, and I love the rules of Magic. I love running events.
That's game dev right there, man. That's sort of a sign.
Oh, yeah. So event coordination, people management, event management, and the rules of Magic. Like, judging was a perfect fit for me.
That's like literally being a program manager.
Yeah, it's look. Hey, I ended up in production for a reason. And like, I'm still in daily communication with the Australian and New Zealand judge community, because like we're a really tight knit bunch. And these events, truly, they just felt like phenomenal parties. And I thought that they were the biggest thing I'd ever seen. I was like, I can't believe a paper game tournament can be this huge. And then one year, I had the opportunity to go to a Grand Prix Las Vegas. And Australia's events didn't feel so big anymore.
Dude, to be fair though, GP Vegas, I remember, I think it was in 2017 or 2018, the first year there was a command zone at GP Vegas, the command zone there was bigger than most GPs ever. Just the free play area. No, it wasn't even free play. It was, you had to pay then.
You had to pay, yeah.
To get in there was bigger than both the Grand Prix being played at that same GP, as well as like every other GP that's ever been played. It's ridiculous. I mean, GP Vegas was like 6 different GPs in one, man.
It's funny. Like I think Magic cons nowadays they've changed, and they feed a different purpose and a different audience. But like,
yes,
I do miss something about just like the Grand Prix being the center of like this weekend long fiesta. And everybody sort of really being focused in on that. There was a magic and an electricity in the air, and like being in Vegas for that one, like it was phenomenal. It was mind blowing. I think I like had a social anxiety attack just because of like how many people there were in that room, and I'd never seen that many before. And yeah, I went back to Australia and was like, 700 player Grand Prix, easy, no problem. But yeah, it's there's just something electric, and knowing that, like, sure, I was terrified going to Vegas because I went. I knew a couple of people at the time. There was a few like sort of women and marginalized gender groups that would sort of be like, hey, we want to meet up and coordinate via Facebook and meet up at Vegas. And that was how I got to know like Michelle and a bunch of other people. But I was still going to this event functionally alone and being like, I don't know how I'm going to make friends. Am I just going to sit at this event and have a terrible time? I'll play some Magic, but I don't know anybody. And I think if anything, like if anyone listening has ever been on the doubt about just taking themselves solo to a Magic con, and look, you can't just sit there and expect that friendship is going to happen to you. You do have to put yourself out there. But if you're willing to go and put yourself out there and be like, I'm going to talk to people, I'm going to just jump into random events so that I keep doing things. I'm going to talk to my opponents. If something interesting is happening at a table, I'm going to walk over and ask about it. And just stay curious and interested in what everyone else is doing. You will make friends so quickly.
Yeah, it turns out at Magic Con, everybody likes talking about Magic.
Yeah, you have to get people to try and stop talking about Magic so you can get to your event on time.
Yeah, seriously. If you're looking to break the ice with anybody, you're like, oh, yeah, tell me about your deck. And then just book the next 45 minutes and you're done.
You're set. Yeah. Or if they're playing like competitive, like, hey, did you have a good time? Are there any bad beats? You know?
Yeah, it's like
tough mulligan choices.
Yeah, like, okay, so here's the thing. I go solo to basically every Magic event. I mean, that's not necessarily true. I do have my crew of people, obviously, shout out to all my dear friends. But generally, when I'm at the event itself and not like, sleeping in the hotel room, I'm just bumming around and walking around by myself because that's just kind of, I'm too kinetic to stay in one place. Mm-hmm. And like, I know, I mean, obviously if I'm in the casual and creator areas. People know me and come up and say hi or whatever. But I like to go to the pro areas because that's where I want to go and meet people and shake hands. And I have met, like, the way I introduce myself to like every pro, I'm like, oh, so how's your tournament going? How's the pro tour? Oh man, how'd your draft go? And they're like, 0-3 drop. I'm like, well, better luck next time. But hey, you should come on my show sometime. Well, I mean, I try not to be that hustly, but I'm definitely like that hustly.
It comes with the territory, right? Yeah. I mean, like but sometimes I think people get an idea that like, oh, if you go to these events, like, unless you're bringing your crew with you, or like you are a content creator and you're doing like the networking thing, because like that's absolutely a part of it, especially if like you make your living through Magic. But like you can go and just talk to people that you meet. Like everyone is amazing. I love, one of my favorite things to do at every large event is everyone that I sit down with, provided I'm not too anxious if it's like a competitive event, is to be like, hey, where are you from? Did you travel for this one? Oh, that's cool. You're from New Jersey. What are you doing at SCG Portland? That's crazy. That happened to me a couple of months ago. Or last month. Oh my God, time is flying. January? Who knows? And just get to know. I'm like, not everybody wants to talk, and some people have their crew that they've come with, and they're like, look, hey, nice to have a conversation. I'm gonna go and hang out with my friends, but like, just keep putting yourself out there and you'll have a great time, because that is how I ended up meeting so many people. And sure, we don't hang out or talk like every single day, but like, this is how you end up randomly
networking,
cat sitting like, in Montreal for a pro player, is you just go, hey, I think you're cool. We've got some stuff in common. Let's chat.
Well, I mean, that's how I ended up in Amsterdam, hanging out with Missouri MTG, the great seller of all Magic cards, and a bunch of our friends eating a cheese board that had like 48 cheeses on it at this cheese bar. And I'm like, what am I doing? This is the coolest thing ever. But it's like, you never know. Like, you meet so many. I mean, learning how to, like, if Magic has taught us anything, it's the skill of being able to talk to other people you think you have nothing in common with. Absolutely. And like, because like, even the most introverted person, you still got to sit there and say like, oh, what are you playing? Or like, I counter your spell or something. And these small interactions help us build into bigger interactions. And then like, oh man, your deck, those basic lands are sick. Where do they come from? And then you have a story, and then you have a friendship, and then you can hang out. And then next time it's like, hey, next time let's go to Barcelona together and hang out at the Barcelona thing. And I mean, I don't know. I'm like, obviously I'm a bad example of this. I am just an extrovert who Katamari's friends all over the place. But like, this is also how I just set up random people to be like, hey, you two should meet and hang out and go talk in Magic and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's like my favorite thing to do.
And so it's funny. So like, I think I mentioned, like, I used to play Magic basically every single day. And then I sort of peeled back a little bit, went back to weekly. And then after the pandemic, like, I think everyone's relationship with Magic changed a lot. For me, it was that like I kind of stopped playing at stores, and I stopped going to, like, I used to try and get to every major event that I could afford to get to. And now I'm a lot more selective due to all kinds of reasons, a lot of them being budgetary. But what I realized, I think, was like, I was like, okay, if Magic's going to be like, what do I want my relationship with Magic to be? Like, I love the game. I will love the game until the end, like,
yes.
It represents so much to so many people, and like, there's all kinds of facets and layers to my feelings and affection for the game. And I think for a while I really clung on to like, if you love the game, you have to be playing Commander, you have to be playing Arena, you have to go to every pre-release. And yeah, it took a bit to go like, you know what, it's okay. Like, sure, I'm friends with people who do that, and that's good. That's how they want to spend their time. And what I ended up doing was, what did I end up doing? I ended up being invited, another game developer in Vancouver, and I didn't know if he'd be cool with me bringing up his full name and identity, so I'll just call him John for now. He was like, oh, hey, I see that you're also a Magic person. You're also a game developer in Vancouver. Some of us at our studio, we like to play some, like, we'll play Cube, or we'll play Draft, or sometimes like after a pre-release, we'll all bring our pre-release pools back to the office and we'll play some games together. Do you want to come along? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. I would love to play Magic with other game developers because there's nothing as satisfying as being able to talk shop in a way that's like really safe.
Right.
It's very cathartic and very relaxing because sometimes, look, I love working in the games industry. Obviously, it was a huge dream and I took a huge chance and I managed to get lucky enough to get a very stable, secure role working in it up here. And I'm grateful for that. There is sometimes you will talk to people about it and they will get a bit starstruck about it in a way.
The game industry is so small and it's so it's small and it's very narrowly constructed. And it's like we all end up either working for each other, with each other, or like next to each other. And exactly. You end up meeting everybody in the game industry at some point or another, just because there's like only so many people that can go. So it's wild because like there's this notion in the outside that like it's a very auteur driven industry. It's like, ooh, Kojima is such a big guy. Ooh, Miyamoto. Okay, mind you, if I met Miyamoto, I still would probably be like, I was starstruck when I met Sid Meier, but the Sid Meier is just like your old uncle, right? Like, yeah, he created one of the greatest games of all time, but he's still just a dude. And yeah, it's like when I sit down to play Magic and I'm playing with people who are well and famous outside of Magic for things that, like, one of the things that was wild was like when I was in Amsterdam, I was playing. I sat down to play Commander with a dude named Medic who I'd never met before. Who was just, I was like, oh, he just pinged me. He's like, oh man, I would love to play with you. I'm such a big fan. I'm like, sure, I'll play it. I'd love to just chat and hang out. And it turns out he is like the biggest like caster for League of Legends, and people were coming up to him and like, oh my god. And I'm like, I don't know literally anything about it. But like, I mean, Amber Glenn, gold medalist figure skater, is sitting at the closing ceremonies of the Olympics cracking booster packs. That is our people, right? Like, come on.
It is. And I think when like there's a certain degree of when you play a game of Magic, the outside stuff does just melt away and you're just like, we're all just here trying to win with our decks.
Yes. So it's sorry, I totally interrupted you about.
No, it's okay. But sometimes you still keep in mind like who people are and what you do. And so if someone goes like, oh, hey, wow, you work in games? Oh, wow, you worked on Minecraft? That's incredible. That's amazing. You worked on Skate? Oh, I want to know all about the games industry. Tell me all about it. And sometimes you're like, I kind of just want to play Magic right now.
Yeah, it's like, I don't want to talk about work, dog.
Or you want to have a good old-fashioned healthy wine sometimes. You know, it's just like when you sit down with like somebody for an after work beer and you're just like, sometimes I just want to get some stuff off my chest. And I'm not actually thinking too heavily about it. It's not the biggest complaints in the world, but we're going to bond by just having a bit of a natter about this. And sometimes when you complain about games industry stuff, one, half of it's under NDA, so you can't talk about it.
Yeah, right.
And other people some people can be like, well, you know, but you're like living the dream, you know, like, can't believe you're complaining about that. Or, oh, wow, I'm going to tell you all about how I think. I'm like, no. I just kind of want to.
I just needed to vent to somebody who knows what I'm talking about. And
exactly.
I mean, look, as Magic content creators, there's like a handful of us in the world who do this professionally and who are well known enough to be able to sit doon. And sometimes like at MagicCon, people get mad. They're like, oh man, you're just sitting with your star friends and not hanging out with any real people. I'm like, no, you don't understand. For me, this is a work conference and these are my coworkers and we're just having 10 seconds to just sit there and say like, God, can you believe the YouTube algorithm just did this? We're now stuck. Or like, oh God, I have to start making short form content about Dan. What do I do? You know, like the
vibe is different when you're in person with each other. Cause it's not like you don't talk.
Right. But it's
still
like,
you talk about different things.
There was the author Margaret Weiss once told me, it's like when we're meeting fans or we were talking to people outside, put your show face on and you're on stage and you're like very visible and bright and you're here and you're happy and you're here to give them a good time. And then when you're with your people, you're just like, just like slump down. You're like, oh, hey, it's you. It's good to see you again. It's like, cause I remember I was like,
pull the tie.
Hey, how come like because I was waiting in line to meet Tracy Hickman, who is one of my favorite authors, and I wanted to get a book signed by him, and he's like, and going down the line, shaking hands and signing things like, "Oh my God, it's so lovely to meet you. Hi, it's so nice to meet you. Hi, oh, hey, Shivam. Hi, it's so nice to meet you." And I was like, what the hell? Did I offend him? And she's like, "No, dude, you're family now. So he can just be off for like 10 seconds. And I was like, oh. And now that I'm like here at this stage where I'm sitting there and people want to meet me or whatever, I understand what they mean.
Absolutely.
Because you're like, when you're like, I was at pre-release and a gentleman came up to me and was like, "Oh my God, you're Shivam from the internet." I'm like, time to put on my show face. Cause like, I guess this is like, cause my store, everybody knows me because I've just been going there forever. I'm just the dude.
Mhm.
I'm not anything fancy or whatever. And so it's like, okay, I have to be the internet for a few minutes and then I can calm down and come back to just hanging out with my buddies. But you don't want to disappoint anybody. But it's also like that's what the value of going to like conferences or going to playing games with your buddies is that we can all just be peers and not
Yep.
worry about this having to show off to each other.
Yeah. And like we're not like chasing clout or anything. It's just that like we're actually all coming in sort of with the same sort of context and background. And like as a result, like this crew at this studio is actually who I play Magic with the most regularly now. And we play all kinds of things. Like we've got different cubes that'll go around every now and again. We'll get we'll play some sealed with each other. We've played sealed leagues with each other.
Sealed leagues are the best.
Yeah, and I've mostly been around for just like, play some league games. Whenever you lose a game, you can add a booster to your pool, and then first to like X amount of losses gets dropped out, or first to X amount of wins. And that was super fun. I know that in the past they've played with like some wacky rules and stuff as well. And like those are the things that you can do when you're just organizing a group of like 10 people. Yeah. And it's phenomenal. And I think it like really changed how I was like the relationship of my love, well, the means of my love for Magic. I was like, oh, like I can be so much more deliberate about how I'm going to play the game. And I'm going to just engage with it in ways that bring me joy and happiness. Because you can get a little caught up in the whole like internet cycles about things.
The cure about the cure for talking about Magic is actually playing Magic.
Absolutely.
But that means like it's always wild though. Like when you go to like offices, like I visit people's offices a lot, and I went to Brandon Sanderson's studio, and in his break room there was like 3 cubes against the wall, and I'm just like, okay, buddy. All right, okay, calm down. But let's talk a little bit though, because I'm looking at these weapons. I've been staring at them for like an hour behind your head.
Yeah, the wall.
You also do cosplay?
Yeah. It's
I remember that.
Yeah, it's sort of like just a personal for fun hobby. Like I don't want to do it professionally or anything, but like both me and my partner David, we both cosplay, and I'm not making anything from scratch if I can avoid it. Like the old time, money, effort, triangle thing.
Every hobby,
real.
Right?
And I got to a point where I was like, I love cosplaying, but if someone will let me buy like most of it pre-made, or if I can buy something that's much more like casual street clothes, I'll do it. But I love to make the props. And so up on the wall, I realized earlier this year that I was like, I've just been shoving them like on a shelf in a corner, and
you might as well put them somewhere that you could see.
Yeah, let's put them somewhere. So like I've got my Hornet needle from cosplaying Hornet. This little dagger is from doing the Duchess from Night Rain. This one I actually didn't make. This is Henry of Scarlet's sword from Kingdom Come Deliverance. Well, I guess technically the Lord, his
sure.
Another character's sword, but either way, this was Helly from Severance, her like name tag thing, her employee badge.
Yeah,
I made this. Some of these have been 3D printed. This katana I made from scratch from foam.
That's pretty cool.
That one's from Star Rail. I did Kafka. This was a badge for the Duchess, and then this was the service weapon from Control.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's a wide array of cosplays.
I'm working on another wig, right? Literally.
Yeah, I saw the red wig behind you, and I was like, what's going on with that?
up until so that'll be for Emerald City Comic Con this coming weekend. So
cool.
you'll by the time this episode comes out,
you'll
be able to see some photos that I'll put up on social media. Doing a duo with my partner, so that's always fun.
What is it going to be?
We are, I guess, the photos will be out. So we are doing Reno and Rude from Final Fantasy VII.
Oh, that's sick. Yeah. That's sick.
Okay,
cool.
We wanted to do something new, and we both realized we have basically no time, and we were like, well, what have we got? And David's like, well, I'm bald and I've got a suit. And I was like, well, we can work with that.
Reasonable and fair. Reasonable and fair.
We love Final Fantasy VII, so.
Yeah,
I love it. I've done some Magic cosplays in the past. I did Gisa, Ghoul Caller Gisa in the past.
Yeah, I remember that. That was a cool costume.
Super fun.
Oh, man. Well, it's been really lovely to talk to you again, man. It's been so long. I feel like we used to... I guess that's just what internet and actually having real jobs and lives does. But
it is.
If folks wanted to find you, where could they go?
So I'm at Foxes for Sale on basically any social media that allows you to pick the name Foxes for Sale. I'm mostly on Blue Sky and Instagram nowadays. I tend to post mostly about just sort of like cosplays and video games that I've been playing or I think are cool, or modern news and politics. I'm not... I do like to spout my opinions on that. But yeah, I know, shocker, huh? I actually don't post that much about creating video games because I can't actually talk about my own work that much, unfortunately. But I love to promote other people's stuff. I run a games conference, so like you'll see me talk about that every now and again. The Full Indie Summit, shout out to that. If you're a game developer in the Pacific
what do you mean you run your own games conference?
Well, I'm not the primary person, but I'm on the committee for the Full Indie Summit. We're an independent games conference run up in Vancouver, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, if anyone's in the PNW or further, you're welcome to come further. But it's a little small. It's a one-day event. In September, we run the Full Indie Summit, which is like by indie developers for indie developers to spread the learnings and joy of independent games development methods as wide to the community as we can. Super proud of it. It's been going for a long time. It was just one of the things that, like, when I landed in Vancouver, I wanted to get involved in the community. So I was like, what are the conferences that are nearby? And Full Indie was there, and I just emailed them and was like, hello, can I help out? And they were like, yes, you're in charge of all of these things now. I was like, oh, okay. So now I do their bookkeeping.
That's awesome.
You should come up if you're in the area. Definitely.
I mean, that very much sounds like Vancouver.
Magic Judge accidentally gets involved in more event management. Say it ain't so.
Yeah, dude, if Sheldon was here, he would frown. I'd love great. Well, thank you again for joining me today, Amelia. It's been really good to talk to you.
It's so nice to talk. Let's we should hang out more.
Right? We should hang out more.
We perpetually say.
As always, my friend, you can find me on Blue Sky at Shivam Bhatt. You can find this podcast every podcast show or at YouTube every Tuesday. Thanks to my editor, Dan. You can also hear me on Shivam Wheeler, Love Magic, or the Chronicles of Dragonlance. And remember, my friend, it's not magic without the gathering, and we'll see you next time.